So I freaking hate that it's come to this. And I actually have a headache. I wasn't sure what topic I was going to talk about. I thought I was going to talk about a low-hanging fruit, but apparently the more I think about the low-hanging fruit, it's actually not. And the toughest issue I'm going through is actually the easiest to talk about. It seems very paradoxical, but yeah. So my life's a wreck. Um, doesn't mean I'm not being logical. So it'd be so damn easy. I know I look like I'm 20. Some people think I'm like 18. Some people say like, "Oh, you're 23 years old." I'm 30, and it's only really apparent when my facial hair is growing out. Apparently, so I get carded trying to buy this stuff. When I 80% of the time when I have a full beard, 80% of the time I don't get carded, and when I have this or shorter or no facial hair, I get carded 80% of the time. So it just really depends, man. Doesn't really help with genetics. Even with meetup, when I was in my early-ish 20s, when I was at meetup, I was with some people like, "You're 30 years old, Max." Like, nope, I'm like 48. I'm like, what? And again, those meetups are full of introverts and people with on the spectrum, autism, maybe. I don't know, man. I just know I have much to talk about. It's so hard not to drink any of this today. Maybe I'll talk about maybe I will talk about the low hanging fruit or what felt like low hanging fruit. Yeah, let's just get it out of the way because I have bigger fish to fry. And already I know this is already controversial, but if you depend on drinking this kind of crap, which you could say, "Oh, you bought some, you're just as bad as I am," even if you don't drink every single day. Look, alcohol is pathetic. I'm just going to outright say it. It doesn't matter if you depend on it socially to stay sane, to look forward to something, and I get that. Um, my favorite philosopher ever, one of the wisest ever, Alan Watts, he died an alcoholic. So don't get me wrong. Everybody's controlled by their emotions. Everybody thinks the mind tells you, no, you're in control of your emotions. I'm just allowing the emotions, but actually, the emotional mind is tricking you. If you don't realize that, then you're even more of a sucker and you have less control than you think. But as soon as you release control, you say, "Oh, the emotions do control me." Then you actually do have a little bit of control. It's a spectrum. Some people say, "Oh, there's absolutely no free will," but the more you study it, the more if you're hungry, horny, sleep depriving, like you have absolutely no free will. Angry, etc. Absolutely no free will. I hope this audio is recording. Yeah, looks like it is. Um, so we're not masters of our emotions. We can influence it. We can say we can give inputs to the emotional mind. You can say, "Here's the evidence," but ultimately, I know I love sharks, largely because I dug up at a time in my life I didn't have much going for me. Dug up a bunch of fossil shark teeth. How can you say that's not awesome, right? See, when you're single, when you're tired of playing video games, tired of playing tennis, you dig up some fossils, you read about sharks, all their diversity. Um, I mean, I'm not going to argue with it. That's the thing, man. We're controlled by emotions, and then we try to defend ourselves logically, but it's absolutely backwards, right? Because I could say, "Oh, I'm not a drinker. I've never been controlled by alcohol," but that's just BS. But most of these, I mean, I'm saying this for myself, for all their people too. I can't guarantee I'm not going to drink that by the end of the day, but um, it's Sunday anyway, so I can drink a little bit. But if I had beer, it'd be even more difficult because beer is like basically water with a little bit of alcohol, but it's still just as nasty, if not worse, because it's easier to get drunk and to stay addicted to it as if it's just in small doses. But before I get too sidetracked, I'll get into the decline of my home state and why there's no stopping it, but why alcohol is pathetic. Um, So what are we trying to do in life? We're trying to minimize suffering. We're trying to enjoy ourselves. Say we're super misunderstood, we're super depressed, we're grieving, best friend is gone. Good little munchie right there. Mr. Most every day. Best awesome kitty ever. So you say, oh, my life sucks. I just need a drink. I just need to feel good. You're not, you're going to feel good, but guess what? You're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're poisoning yourself in order to feel good. You're basically manipulating your emotions. You're poisoning yourself until you feel good. That's just numbing. That's not doing anything except damaging yourself. You're just robbing Peter to pay Paul. I'm just saying. Um, you're just basically killing yourself. And you might say, "Oh, I don't like this life. You know, screw it. I tried. I told the love of my life I loved her, and she rejected me. So I absolutely need this. I need it. I need it. I have to feel good." Okay, let's slow down a little bit. Life is not a destination. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey. I know it's super cliche. I know not many people want to admit that. And I can already feel it that somebody is going to challenge me on that. But trust me, if you don't believe me, read this book. Absolutely earth shattering. I mean, I already started to figure out some of these stuff on my own, even before discovering Alan Watts. His lectures, he gets really sidetracked, and but you have to ask yourself, why is he bringing up this point? Why is he talking about fish bringing fish, monkeys bringing fish out of water, telling them not to drown? You know, um, you have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of this? What he's saying, why he's saying. And I'm trying to save a lot of people a lot of suffering. And I know no matter what I do, people will fall into the same pit traps. They'll think, I just need to get married. I just need to get enough friends. I just need to be exploited until one day it's going to pay off. But guess what? Your baseline always changes. It always adapts. So you just might as well do what you enjoy. Right? It seems so simple, but I'm telling you, we're not in control as much as we think. And it's about because life is a dance. It's about the journey. It's about enjoying. Okay. So eventually everybody gets a tombstone. You get a birth and a death. And all your life is that hyphen. That contains everything. And I know it's super cliche, and trying to find ways to make it really hit home. But I'm just telling you, don't take my word for it. Test it. Don't believe me. If you don't believe that you don't need alcohol, that is pathetic. That is just you're just poisoning yourself, drugging yourself. You're tricking the mind into thinking you're okay. But if you're not actually delving deep and recognizing your voids and your griefs and doing what you can to heal those and improve yourself, what the hell are you doing? You're just on super, super borrowed time. And I'm starting to really connect the dots with my own life right here. But yeah. So how do we get tricked into believing that all we need is alcohol? That if you're in pain, if you're celebrating something, all you need is this. Just it takes off the edge. It makes you feel good. It's such a lie, man. You see those advertisements. You see everybody smiling. Hey, yeah, hey, have a beer. We're enjoying life. It's all just tricking your emotions, right? There's two ways to control people, or maybe there's more than that, but fear is the biggest one. People used to think, the government used to think, oh, we need to brainwash people, we need to drug them, and that will control them that way. Or we just make them super afraid. And religion figured that out way even before. You want to talk about the master manipulators, you talk about the emperors and the religions, right? You don't want to go to hell. You don't want to. Never mind that there's no scientific evidence behind it. You don't want to burn forever. You better go to this meeting place, and you better repent. You better feel sorry for yourself. You better kneel down, or else you better give us 10% of your money, or else you're going to hell. Right? It's just all tall claims and all bark and no bite. But it's like people feel guilty. It's because their emotions. They feel like there has to be an afterlife. They feel like they want to believe in hell and heaven so much. They want to believe in justice so much that their emotions trick them. That it feels super logical, but it's actually not logical. But I'm not here to talk about those modern mythologies, right? I'm here to talk about bigger fish to fry. I mean, how the hell does this industry make billions and billions of dollars a year? Just because it takes off the edge and people want to believe in it. They want to feel like nature is whatever, it's probably screwed and might as well just enjoy life and poison yourself if already everything is sick and in decline. But there's a few main issues. One, they're super acute. You're slowing down your mind, you're poisoning yourself, you're damaging your liver. I mean, because if this is only long-term effects and you could stay perfectly healthy and then you just drop dead when you're 50, I probably would drink a whole bunch. I know that's super depressing, but I'm no stranger to sandy benders, and with what I have, I'm pretty sure I have BPD. Um, and you read about how cursed people with BPD are and how crazy they can get. But I know enough. I can stay in it. I can stay rational. I can question my emotional tendencies. Um, Especially you see what that with comedians. Comedians are like they figured out so much. You can tell there's a lot of anger boiling down beneath a lot of them. Jerry Seinfeld, especially. I'm surprised I didn't realize it on my own. How he's like, oh, what's the deal with But then I think it was through some interviews or a documentary or something. Everybody was saying Jerry Seinfeld is the most angry person I've ever experienced, and how much he would trick people into believing he's not, and he's just being funny. And the more I look back and I watch some of his, I mean, it's not very good. It's very dated. It's kind of cheesy, a lot of those. But especially like one, he's like, "Oh, you go in the movie theater, they tell you to pick up my garbage. Oh, now I'm doing their job now. They want me to pick up my own garbage. What am I paying them for?" I'm super bad at impersonating. But it's only funny because it's so bad, but so much anger. Damn it, I'm losing my train of thought again. Oh yeah, but yeah, do not. It's even at my job. I'm at a job where it's super fear influenced, and I'm showing my face. I'm not masking my voice or my face because I have union protections. No matter what I say, as long as I'm not bad mouthing my employer or showing the logo, which you never know. Maybe one day it'll just one of my shirts is just show the logo, and it's not like this is going super mainstream, but I don't know. It might one day. Just randomly, one of my videos, my biggest video on my other channel was just a random trash cleanup. Barely put any effort into it. Got over 1,000 views, which I know is in the grand scheme of things is still nothing. Even a video with 1 million views is kind of nothing nowadays. But it made me so pissed because I've made a lot of podcasts and a lot of slideshows. I'd put like 50, 60, 70 hours into it, hard work. You get like 10 views. Like, yeah, I'm not going to talk about that. Oh, it's already enough sanity benders in life. And yeah, I talked about how people get manipulated. About actually, it's really affecting me last night and this morning. How hold on, there was a comment. Probably edit this. How hopeless it is. Oh yeah, it's Jordan Peterson video where he's saying the free market is the best. You can convince your legislators of everything. Just have a strong enough case. And there's Jordan Peterson talking about how we have a free market. We don't have a free market. If you consider the money flow the free market, yeah, then money controls everything, man. It's absolutely depressing. You're not going to save the forest. You're not going to save the air. You're not going to save the waterways. If dams were not profitable, then all the scientific evidence is out there that dams do not The pros do not outweigh the cons. There's all kinds of, I probably opened a new can of worms. Probably some person who likes alcohol, who loves their dam, who loves their bass that they catch behind their dam. They're going to absolutely hate my guts. It seems like I'm making a lot of sense and I'm tricking a lot of people, but I don't care. You can say whatever you want in those comments. It doesn't affect me. I mean, it might for like 2 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever. Because ultimately, I don't get triggered because I know. I mean, we all react how we react. I could tell you, oh, loneliness doesn't do anything to me. Depression doesn't do anything to me. I'm just enjoying the journey, enjoying the dance of life. And I wish I were more. It would come easier to me. It might over time, but especially people with BPD, they have favorite people or favorite places that they feel super attached and loyal to. I want to fight and defend my favorite river watershed to the end, but I know it's screwed. But anyways, yeah, I'll get into that. Okay. So Jordan Pearson, we don't have a free market. Oh, this is somebody else's comment. We don't have a free market. Congress is owned by lobbyists, oil and gas being one of the biggest and most heavily subsidized. Successful capitalists become very good socialists when it comes to using the power of the state to maintain their monopolies. Electric cars have been around since the 70s and would have been pretty cheap and common by now otherwise. And I started realizing a lot of these things when I was fighting the North Florida toll roads, which they went away, but now they're starting to come back. And I kind of had a gut feeling that they're never going to go away. Apparently, even before 2022. Yeah, that's when I was fighting it. But it started before then. It's been going on since like 2018 or 2019. They want to build toll roads. There's no demand for it. It's in the middle of nowhere, the nature coast, where it's big money coming in, fishing, ecotourism, spring divers, cave divers, super nice. There's even documentaries. I could probably provide a link. Check out my Swanee River playlist. Super protected, super rare, super unique jungle, etc. All the reasons in the world to save it. But big agriculture, in the end, if nothing else, will ruin it. If not from development, if not from, I didn't mean to smile there. If not from development, if not from oil, gas, phosphate, aluminum. Wait, there's some kind of mine that seems like it's going to go through in Okefenokee. You'd think they would save that kind of. Ultimately, it just comes down to lobbyists, right? Super depressing. I definitely recommend if you want to watch a really real where it talks about the process of lobbying and how much money influence controls everything, even to the detriment of any kind of nice environment, right? Check out Fellowship of the Springs on Amazon, which I know it's only a matter of time before I rent it again and watch it again. And I took some notes, I took some screenshots, and even just looking at the screenshots of looking at all the locations where all the springs that have stopped flowing or are super polluted or basically just sinkholes now. It's super depressing how many springs Florida has and how many of them are basically dead or on death's door. Right, Banning Springs, Manatee Springs. I snorkeled Manatee Springs. It's still flowing a bunch of clear, fresh water, providing a lot of flow to the lower Suwannee River, my favorite. Very mighty river, no dams, lots of sturgeon. Sturgeon being the big migrator. These jump out of the water. They get up to like 3 or 4 feet long. I know at northern North America, they get much bigger. Basically a living dinosaur. I mean, sharks are too. Don't get me wrong. Very unique hammerhead. I mean, people still see this as just mostly a resource. They see it as a sport fish. Oh, it's just out there to give me joy so I can harvest it, so I can eat it. Whatever, man. But I'm just going to mostly talk about my experiences of how I know it's all hopeless and I fucking hate it, man. There's no stop in lobbying. Oh, I meant to tell my you comment reply. Okay, we don't have a free market. Congress is owned by lobbyists, oil, gas, etc. I replied back exactly that. Oh, it's depressing as hell, man. The more I delved into it, watching documentaries, been to labor union meetings and environmentalist type meetings. And I'm still surprised how much land has been locked away in nature preserves in Florida, especially. I know it's not enough. It's not going to save the springs. It's not going to save the rivers, even if they buy up a bunch more land. And even when I'm having major sanity benders, I've bought lottery tickets. If nothing else, save my sanity for saving, because I feel like when I was in a real spiral in depression, grieving, some aspects of me because I don't have many friends. Right, I was majorly a cat person. I know you could argue, oh, cats are invasive species. Why do you love them so much, etc. Man, you don't control your emotions. You don't get to pick what you feel alliances to. You can try to logically influence it, but again, we're not in control of ourselves, not entirely. The more you realize that, the more possible control you have. So I still know that we at most have about, okay, it is recording, 10 to 30% free will. And I think that's very generous to say we can potentially have 30% free will of all of our decision making. I don't think we have that much. I think the emotional mind tricks us into believing that we're kind of like the boss, right? Somebody had written this, some very smart people. uh I'm not just saying this if I didn't know if it was true, that ultimately our decision making comes from our heart, emotional mind, subconscious, whatever you want to call it, and we just sign off on it. You say, yeah. So it puts in the work, it makes the judgments, it makes the decisions, and then our rational mind wants to take credit for that. Sucks. Okay. Anyways, before I get too sidetracked on that, I could always make another part, talk about free will and how it's a gray area, how we do have a little bit of control. We do make choices. We can judge the evidence, but what's behind that? What is influencing how we make judgments, how we make decisions? There's a lot less in our control than that. Doesn't just mean we're just robots and we don't make choices. We don't have values and judgments. It's a gray area. But anyways, I'll probably make another part about that. Oh, okay. Exactly that. It's depressing as hell, man. The more I delved into it, watched documentaries, been to labor union meetings and environmentalist type meetings, money is the only thing that really talks nowadays. It's been that way, not just nowadays, right? Big agriculture is $1 billion industry. I could write to the governor, I could write to my Congress people, call them up every single day. But guess what? I could say, we need to save the springs, we need to save the rivers. What the hell are we doing? Blah blah blah. And guess what? As soon as they're in the process of writing something, of saving the springs, saving the water, guess who comes along? Well, we need to save our farms. We make billions of dollars, and it's in Florida's best interest for the economy to America. We need to save the farms, and here's a blank check. Here's some millions of dollars. You want to pay off your house? Here, take it. Take this blank check. How do you say no to that? We can have a heart, but in this cruel world, it's too expensive. And I know I'm kind of stealing that. I watched a mafia documentary. It's too expensive to have a heart in the mafia. It was also true with anyone in power too. The more I think about it, that is sad. It's depressing as hell, as I said, that everything is screwed, especially in America. I think it's a little bit more rational in Europe. You could be the smartest, you could write to them every day, you can do everything you can, but corruption always wins out. It's all about, even when, okay, so even Levy County, if you look up, although it is growing nowadays, I wish it wasn't, one of the nicest, least developed. It's much more farmland than urban sprawl. I know that's probably going to change because where am in Central Florida, apparently in the 60s, 70s, 80s. I was born in the 90s, so it's already pretty suburban. And especially nowadays, it's like borderline metropolitan, minus the transportation. So all the roads are crap and all the it's just ugly urban sprawl. It's ugly apartments everywhere. But yeah, I know it's going to transform and it's probably at this rate, everywhere is going to look. It's just going to be New York Part 2. It's super depressing, just with some swamps here and there, some mosquito lands, and we need those swamp lands and marshes and damn it, I'm going to make another video talking about the importance of wetlands. I mean, I'm really glad for this book. Um, especially back in the day when she wrote this book, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, everybody thought swamps are just mosquito lands. They need to be domesticated. We need to make it into farmland. But if you want to protect your home against flooding, you want to have a sustainable life, even with some mosquitoes. You know, that's one of the downsides. But ultimately, if you want to not have a super bad flooding, and a whole bunch of other aspects that are going to bite you in the end, you need those swamps, you need those wetlands. Most valuable type of land, even more than commercial real estate. Wetlands, if you add up all of the value of those types of, and trust me, it's not irrational. I can defend why Munchie was the best cat ever, taught me a lot in life, has continued to inspire me, continue to have my lust for life, and I definitely pay homage to her most every day. But I know there's no cure. I can only keep living my life, not just for her, but for myself, and because we're meant to live with life like a variety plate. I know it's irrational to have favorites. I know it's irrational to hold on to something so tightly. You cannot hold on to anything. Change is the only emotion. Change is the only inevitable in life. Everywhere, most everywhere is going to continue to decline. Is not above corruption, is not above big agriculture, is not above. Because trust me, man, I snorkeled Manatee Springs. I'm going to provide a link. Want to see what those nice springs that should be pristine, that seem to have protections, the Clean Water Act, the outstanding scenic river program, it's nothing. And even if this clean water bill passes, Clean Water Act, big business is going to find a way around it and or just shut it down. They're going to lobby, they're going to do everything they can to shut this program down. And I wanted to be so for it, but the more I think about it, it's depressing, man. There's really no, there is hope. I just don't know what it's in. There's always hope, whether it's human extinction or antinatalism, from because this society is decaying from the inside out. If we don't have nature, if we don't have pristine wilderness purifying our water, purifying our air, we're just all going to be depressed and even more full of mental disorders, even more than we are. Keep believing all we need is Minecraft, all we need is Star Wars. We need more of that. There's like no depth to that compared to nature. Nature can teach you so much. Yeah, it's largely, don't get me wrong, I don't care about all of, you can shoot down environmentalists. You can say, why do you care about your home state so much? You don't care about Alaska. If there's oil spills and stuff, I mean, it's sad, don't get me wrong. And I wrote a whole journal about equal grief. I don't know where it is right now. And I tried making an audiobook of it, but I was just getting too emotional. Even though just reading it makes a lot of rational sense. And I'm glad I wrote it even before realizing how hopeless everything is. But I might have to distract my mind in thinking there's hope, or being optimistic about something. There's always something to be optimistic about. Whether it's because even, oh yeah, I meant to say earlier with Levy County being one of the least populated, it's in the middle of the Withlacoochee River. with the nicer rivers, but that's definitely been impacted, has been dammed and dredged, and it's it's still got a lot of nice springs flowing into it. Not nowhere near as many as the Swanee River. It doesn't have sturgeon like the Swanee River, probably because of that dam that's existed for well over 100 years. Swanee River has like no dams except near the headwaters. All that does is regulate the water in the swamp. Swanee River is mostly born out of three big rivers, North Withlacoochee, Alapaha, and the Santa Fe, and like hundreds and hundreds of springs. So that's a very mighty river, very flash flooded. If you want to live along the Swanee River, it'll get angry at you. It says, "Nope, this is my land. I'm going to flood. You tear up my swamps, I'm going to flood your house." And that has happened and continues to happen. You go to Manatee Springs. Here's in like 1948. I'm like almost 6 foot, literally right there in the spring. You know, the river is way down there, and apparently, many decades ago, 1940, is either 1948 or 1973, the water was up to here when I'm standing. The water can rise like 30 to 60 feet with too much flooding because it's connected in North Georgia, even though it's in Florida, North Florida. I know North Florida and South Georgia are pretty much its own thing. I mean, where we make the dividing lines, it's very it doesn't really matter because South Georgia and North Florida have much more in common than South Florida and North Florida. South Florida and North Florida is very, very different climates, very different ecosystems. But South Georgia and North Florida, and that's why you hear, or at least if you go to these rivers and you study them, I'm not trying to bring other people down, but I'm just giving people warning and hopefully some connection here to connect the dots. Maybe you're enjoying this. Maybe you hate me for speaking the truth. I don't care. Ultimately, because people in Georgia on the Withlacoochee River, Valdosta, their wastewater plants super outdated. They would get flooded. Septic systems would overflood, and you'd have hundreds, if not millions, of gallons of wastewater going down the Withlacoochee River into the Swanee River near Live Oak. Very nice park. If you're near the Panhandle on I-10, there's a Buc-ee's right there. I didn't go to it. I didn't know it was there when I last visited Live Oak. Damn, that was 2 years ago. For as slow as time has passed, it's like the days and the months go slow, but the years go fast. It's really weird. The older you get, it really goes by. Even if your life is super torturous, super hellish, I'm telling you, man, it goes by fast. Or not fast enough, for how much suffering I'm going through. But anyways, because how much they pollute in Georgia, if it goes downstream in Florida, pollutes our lower Suwannee River, goes into the Suwannee River estuary. That's the nicest place I've ever kayaked. Right? I know it's screwed, so screw it. There's no secrets left. I'm telling you, the best kayaking I've ever done. I've done a lot of kayaking in a lot of different rivers and springs and nice places in Florida and snorkeled springs. Yeah, Suwannee River estuary, man, there's so much nature, and I know all the pollution goes down in there. Thankfully, right now there's so many springs and so much water influence that the water kind of dilutes out the pollution. But I know because they take out hundreds of millions of gallons of water, if not, I think Florida in general uses about 1 billion gallons of water every day, and that sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. But the Florida for us a quadrillion gallons. So yeah, I mean, you see these snorkelly springs. They're massive springs. They're discharging millions of gallons every day, many tens of millions of gallons. And I know some people want to think, oh, those springs, they're God-given, they're our right. We need to use up that water before it's wasted, before it flushes out into the sea. It supports the coastal ecosystems. Because they're using up too much, even without max urban sprawl, the Suwannee River reef, oyster reefs, they're already have been damaged because of lack of fresh water, and especially Apalachicola. Apalachicola has the most water in the Panhandle I've never been to that river. I don't know if it's a wise idea to really get attached to that river for how dire it is. There's a massive dam, Chint, because you have the Apalachicola River, massive, many hundreds of miles long river, has the most water of any river in Florida, even more than the Swanee River somehow. Um, uh, because of the Woodruff Dam, because you Apalachicola River system is actually it's several very large streams. It's one of the biggest. I mean, the Mississippi has been dredged, channeled. Very sad. Lots and lots of pollution. Lots and lots of alterations. I have no idea if I'm going to kayak it. Any. I mean, I've seen it driving by. It's definitely impressive on a road trip to New Orleans, which I think is really overrated. It's pretty trashy, pretty dirty. But some people love that. They're like, oh yeah, that's where it's going on. They're all about that nightlife, morally, gray areas. I don't know, culture, teach their own. I love nature and thought-provoking nature. Again, there's a reason why books like this exist. Very depressing, but very true stuff. There's like no protection for Florida waters. And this Florida right to clean water, it might work in other states. Apparently Montana, Pennsylvania, and recently New York have very good state constitution water laws, but I really doubt it's ever going to pass in Florida. Florida is just too much big business, too much development. It's where logic comes and goes on a vacation, really sucks. Anyways, because Georgia, they don't deal with the effects of pollution, even if they have wastewater spills, it goes downstream. It goes away from them. It's somebody else's problem, out of sight, out of mind. And I think they have been updating it. I don't think in recent years it overflows as much environmental damage. Oh, this is getting exhausting in so many ways. But yeah, it does suck that I think South Georgia and North Florida should be its own state and have its own super rigid, strict protection. Some people even say half of the world should go to nature. I think at least 25%. You want to be super rational, super, not just to protect nature in its own right. I mean, if we're just protecting nature just to be selfish, then we are hopeless. Because I mean, ultimately, I know I'm a hypocrite. I know I love Florida. I don't really care much about most everywhere else. But if loving every other place, state, species, there's some people with loving, yeah, because the right to clean water movement, which I think is overall hopeless, they do have some support from other people in other states because they do realize that. I'm just holding the shark here. Maybe this will help with the thumbnail. That's what I hate about this world, man. So many videos just get views because of clickbait. I already talked about sharks, but maybe it will take, because ultimately it wasn't books like this as really great and eye-opening books these are, they haven't saved us, right? I've seen very good lectures by Bob Knight, by so many good smart speakers that say, look, what are we doing here? It's all getting worse. We're going to run out of water. So many areas of Florida already have barely any sustainable water. They're starting to consider tapping into trading our wastewater and drinking treated wastewater. Tampa is highly considering that. It sucks. And because even if they filter out, there's no rigid standards for that. So there's going to be some extra stuff in there. Maybe not bacteria, but pharmaceutical byproducts or all kinds of random chemicals, which I know rainwater already kind of probably is more polluted than it used to be, and the oceans are messed up. The ocean, actually, I heard the oceans are starting to not be able to absorb any more carbon. You gotta think, even if you ride your bike every day, you're a super clean country, as many countries in Europe are. Biggest polluters are causing most of the issues. You have to stop them if you want to solve the issue. Which I think it's way too late, man. It's way too corrupted. It's way too messed up. Yeah, I think the solution to pollution is not dilution. That only, you're going to run out of water eventually. Just look at phosphate mining. People say, oh, we need phosphate. The cons, the pros outweigh the cons. You gotta look from whose point of view you're looking. For somebody in Alaska that doesn't give a rat's ass about Florida, yeah, it's worth it. Sacrifice Florida to help us. But if you love the Peace River, you love it more than anything, you kayaked it, fished it, all about the history, you're going to do everything you can to stay loyal to the Peace River and to fight these fudging phosphate companies, who they think they are, trying to pump hundreds of millions of gallons to dilute their pollution. They have to do this. They killed Kissingen Spring over there, and there's really not that much development over there. There's no reason why they should have killed the spring. They did, because they pumped way too much. Even White Spring on the Suwannee River, Upper Suwannee River, has a phosphate mine. I think it's still active. Sucks. They killed off one of the most popular springs up there, White Springs. Had a big bathhouse, very popular about 100 years ago. They killed it because they just kept pumping and pumping and pumping. And you're going to kill the aquifer, you're going to kill the rivers, you're going to kill the local environment. But the Suwannee River is so big and so massive, it's going to take much more than that. Already, it amazes me how much damage is already going on in the Suwannee River basin. Had to restore the oyster reef, or because Suwannee, even Apalachicola, I meant to say, because the dam, because you have the Chattahoochee River, Flint River, it makes a lake, or they dammed up right below the tributary to make a massive lake. Provides a lot of water to agriculture and to Atlanta and some nearby major cities. And there's multiple dams above that. So Apalachicola is starving of water, even though it has the most water of any river system in Florida. It doesn't have enough water to support the oyster population, and the oyster industry collapsed in 2015, apparently, or if not a little bit earlier than that, more or less. So it's really sad that even for Florida, that has a bunch of swamps, a bunch of rain, you can use up way too much water. And we've seen that over the years. It's sad. People keep fighting for it. I'll keep fighting for it in some form or another. I'm spreading the word here. But how are we going to beat big money? Big agriculture, big sugar. If this didn't save the Everglades, Everglades is still a mess. It's worse off than ever. You still have red tide because you have the Kissimmee River. Kissimmee River goes, okay, you have the Everglades. Sugar industry is somewhere around there, either above Lake Okeechobee or below Lake Okeechobee. And all that pollution going in that stays in Lake Okeechobee. Lake Okeechobee gets super polluted, lots of algae, lots of death, or more or less, probably depends on the season. And during the winter, they made some canals, they dredged it to connect it to two rivers on the east and west, and it pushes the pollution out to the ocean. But then it kills off the ecosystems in those rivers and on those coastlines. Just look at the red tide, lots of dead fish on the west coast of Florida. Very depressing, very sad. It keeps going on month after month after month. It used to be like every other year for a few months. Now it's like most of the year. Very sad. I want to think there's hope. I want to think there's some manageable solution. Oh, I didn't even get into. I could make a video about work drama. I was talking about catch-22s. Loving nature so much. How do you stay strong? You're supported by nature, but that nature is dying. But you can't kill work drama. The more you try to kill work drama, it gets worse. I'll probably make a video about that. was reading a YouTube comment I just made. Okay. Money is the only thing that really talks nowadays. We all know it's screwed, and if you're not taking a piece of the pie that's left, somebody else will. It's sad, man. I just told you that blank checks, and people are easily tricked. People know that the issue is not that we're destroying nature. The issue is that we need to convince people that they don't need nature. That you inspire people by fear or mess with their emotions, or there's easier ways to control people than to actually deal with these issues, and they know that. I wish more than anything it wasn't this way, that money was the major factor. This is not to spread fear. I want to fight it. I will fight it in some form or another, whether it's just YouTube comment land or Facebook land, or actually taking action, getting people to sign petitions. Even I texted my buddy about this Clean Water Act. He didn't say much. He said, "Oh yeah, it's sad. All that pollution, all that trash out there." I don't think he's thinking about it as deeply as I am. Maybe everybody has their own issues. Everybody's just trying to stay afloat. I get that. I wish more than anything it wasn't this way. Especially my biggest loyalty being to my favorite river. Probably a BPD thing. Maybe I don't know. And I can't change that. It's so intertwined with my identity over the last few years. I'm going to keep loving till what I love till the end, even if it's foolish. Sucks. I'm cursed, but I wish that you could save the environment, water, air, forest, wildlife, etc. But as George Carlin said, he was right. Those battles were lost a long time ago. And besides, the more I've been out in nature to nice places and comparing it to how hard it is to function alone in this sick society, I realize it's us ourselves that are sicker. But we'll weed ourselves out sooner than later. Just you watch. It's not going to be a sudden collapse with a bang. It's been collapsing for decades, especially nowadays. And if anybody can't see that with all the evidence that's out there, you'll never notice it until it's too far late to remotely do anything. I think that speaks for itself. Probably make another video talking about that in more depth. I'm getting exhausted. Maybe get something to eat, maybe. That's good enough. Good enough for now. All right, cool. Again, if you like this, like, comment, subscribe. This might pick up steam. It might not. I really don't know. It just sucks, man. When you're attached to this world and you know you shouldn't be, you know you should be just enjoying the journey. I continue to do that. I go to different places. I went to like Panasofsky yesterday. I learned a lot of things about how that functions. And even especially nowadays with the internet, you go to a place, you feel connected to it, and then it opens up a new pathway. You can read the scientific literature, you can read about the history, and you feel immersed in it. You don't have to just be connected to your favorite places. You probably shouldn't be in this world nowadays. How screwed everything is. I mean, even when society collapses, or if with climate change, probably everything is screwed. Sea level rise, especially in Florida. But I'd like to think that maybe some places in the interior of the state, less developed, or probably might be saved. Maybe not. Damn, I'm losing my voice, maybe. All right, cool. I wish I had a catchy. I made some good ideas for future content, but if you guys have any suggestions, I know some other channels that talk about antinatalism and talk about controversial things. They like content suggestions. But if it's super common sense, but nothing's off topic, man. This world is declining so fast, man. Just why not speak the truth? Why not? Even if it's going to step on some people's toes, they're going to be offended. They're going to hear things they don't want to hear. But I'm over it, man. I'm going to keep fighting. Oh, shoot. I could talk at length more about my fights against the toll roads and starting to realize how screwed everything is. Even if some stuff is going to be saved, has been saved, it's still in decline from other places being impacted, especially water withdrawals and pollution. It still ends up in those nice places, affects other places. Climate change. So yeah. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. And till next time.